When we say no one is above the law, it usually sounds like a noble slogan until you see what happens when fame, money, and power finally crash into cold, hard concrete walls. These are not just criminals. These are household names. Singers who filled stadiums, actors who made us laugh and cry, CEOs who were on the cover of Forbes, activists who won the Nobel Peace Prize, even a tiger-taming reality star. One day they had private jets, red carpets, millions of followers. The next day they woke up to the clang of steel doors, the smell of bleach and despair, and the realization that every penny, every lawyer, every fan in the world cannot buy back their freedom. Behind the headlines and the mugshots lies a hidden reality most people never see. What really happens when celebrities become just another number in the system? Some are hated so much they have to be locked away 24/7 for their own safety. Some are slowly dying from cancer with almost no medical care. Some are completely alone, watching their health and sanity slip away while the world moves on and forgets them. Today, in this countdown of the 20 celebrities currently living the absolute worst lives in prison, we're pulling back the curtain on the darkest, most shocking chapters of their downfall. No sugarcoating, no glamour, just the raw truth of what happens when the cameras stop rolling and the cell door slams shut forever. Buckle up, because once you hear these stories, you'll never look at fame the same way again. Let's begin. In the summer of 2008, 27-year-old Travis Alexander was found dead in the shower of his Mesa, Arizona home. Stabbed 27 times, throat slit from ear to ear, and shot in the face. The woman who did it? His ex-girlfriend, Jodi Arias, a soft-spoken aspiring photographer who convinced millions watching the trial that she was the real victim. For years, Jodi claimed self-defense. She said Travis was abusive, that he attacked her, that she blacked out and fought for her life. The jury didn't buy it, not even for a second. In 2015, after one of the most watched trials in American history, Jodi Arias was sentenced to life in prison without any chance of parole. Today, at 45 years old, Jodi spends her days inside Perryville Prison, a sun-scorched complex in the Arizona desert. Her fame turned her into public enemy number one among the inmates. From the moment she stepped on the yard, she became a walking target. Other prisoners scream at her, throw things, threaten her life on a weekly basis. To keep her alive, the Department of Corrections keeps her in near-permanent isolation, 23 hours a day locked in a tiny concrete box with just a thin mattress and a steel toilet. She eats alone. She showers alone. The only human faces she sees are the guards who slide her food tray through the slot. Jodi once tried to start a prison art program, selling drawings to buy commissary snacks. But even that was shut down when victims' rights groups complained that she was profiting off Travis's murder. In rare interviews from behind bars, Jodi still insists she's innocent, still cries on camera, still claims the system failed her. But the appeals are over. In March 2025, the Arizona Court of Appeals upheld her conviction for the final time. There will be no retrial, no parole hearing, nothing. Jodi Arias will die in that cell, forgotten by the world that once couldn't stop watching her. For a woman who once craved the spotlight more than oxygen, permanent solitary confinement is the cruelest punishment imaginable. While most people on this list are in prison for violence or greed, one man is locked up simply for speaking the truth. Ales Bialyatsky, Belarusian human rights activist, founder of Vyasna and co-winner of the 2022 Nobel Peace Prize, is currently rotting inside Penal Colony No. 9, one of the most brutal labor camps in Europe. His crime? Smuggling a few thousand euros into Belarus to help families of political prisoners. The dictator Alexander Lukashenko called it financing terrorism. The rest of the world called it Nobel-worthy courage. Ales has been in and out of prison since the 1990s, but this time they threw away the key. 10 years of hard labor in a freezing colony where inmates are forced to sew military uniforms 14 hours a day. Former prisoners say the guards deliberately assigned the worst jobs to political prisoners, sewing thick canvas gloves without thimbles until their fingers bleed. Food is rotten potato soup and bread filled with weevils. Medical care? Almost non-existent. Ales's health is failing fast. Heart problems, chronic pain, and no access to the medication he needs. In October 2022, while sitting in that freezing cell, Alice became only the fourth person in history to be awarded the Nobel Peace Prize while imprisoned. He couldn't attend the ceremony in Oslo. Instead, an empty chair with his name on it stood on stage, one of the most powerful images in Nobel history. The Belarusian regime refuses to let him speak to his wife. Letters are censored or destroyed. Every day he survives is a middle finger to a dictator who wants him broken or dead. Ales Bialyatsky didn't kill anyone. He didn't steal billions. He simply refused to stay silent. And for that, he may never see freedom again. There was a time when Kelly was untouchable, the self-proclaimed king of R&B, the man behind I Believe I Can Fly, selling out arenas worldwide. Today, he's inmate hashtag 09627-035 at FCI Butner Medium I in North Carolina, serving a 31-year sentence for racketeering and sex trafficking. His fall started in 2019 when the documentary Surviving R. Kelly exposed decades of predation on underage girls. Federal agents raided his properties, found hours of horrific video evidence, and the house of cards collapsed. Prison has been hell for Kelly from day one. First, they held him at MCC Chicago, the same jail where Jeffrey Epstein died. 23 hours a day in solitary, sleeping on a steel slab, eating food pushed through a slot. COVID lockdowns made it worse. No rec yard, no phone calls, no human contact. When he was finally moved to Butner, some inmates showed him respect because of his music. Others wanted him dead because of his crimes. In August 2020, a fellow prisoner attacked him in a cell, beating him badly enough that guards had to intervene. Kelly's lawyers claimed the Bureau of Prisons was deliberately keeping him in dangerous conditions because of his fame. These days, he spends most of his time in protective custody, segregated from the general population, eating alone, exercising alone. The man who once threw wild parties in mansions now lives in a 6x8 cell with a thin mattress and a stainless steel toilet inches from his bed. He still records music sometimes, humming into a prison phone, but no one knows if those songs will ever be released. At 58 years old, with 31 years left on his sentence, Kelly will almost certainly die behind bars. The king of R&B has been dethroned and locked in a cage for the rest of his life. Harvey Weinstein was once the most powerful man in Hollywood. Red carpets, private jets, Oscars in both hands. Today, at 72 years old, he is inmate hashtag 21B3763 at Mohawk Correctional Facility and Wendy Correctional Facility. New York State keeps moving him for security reasons, serving a combined 39-year sentence, 23 years in New York plus 16 years in California. Prison has been a slow-motion car crash for Weinstein's body and mind. He arrived at Rikers Island in 2020 practically blind from untreated macular degeneration, walking with a walker, wheezing from heart disease, diabetes, and the after-effects of COVID. Rikers is a violent, overcrowded hellhole. Inmates screamed rapist every time he shuffled past. Guards reportedly leaked his medical records to the tabloids. In 2021, he was rushed to Bellevue Hospital for emergency heart surgery. In 2022, he almost died from double pneumonia. In 2023, he tested positive for COVID again and was found unconscious in his cell. Every time he leaves for court or the hospital, the paparazzi catch him in a wheelchair looking 20 years older than he is. New York State prisons are not designed for a 72-year-old with leukemia, spinal stenosis, and a heart that barely works. He gets his medications late. If at all, inmates throw urine at him. He has been placed in protective custody so many times that he basically lives in solitary. His brother Bob visits when allowed and says Harvey cries constantly, begging for compassionate release. The courts laugh at the request. Over 100 women have accused him. The hashtag #MeToo movement he helped ignite made sure he would never see daylight again. Harvey Weinstein, the man who could make or break careers with one phone call, now spent his days staring at a concrete wall, waiting for the next infection, the next heart scare, the next appeal denial. He is dying in slow motion, and the world is watching without sympathy. Joe Exotic thought Tiger King would make him immortal. Instead, the Netflix series sealed his fate. Joseph Allen Maldonado Passage, 62, is currently at FMC Fort Worth Medical Prison serving 22 years for hiring 2 hitmen to murder Carol Baskin and for 17 wildlife violations. Shortly after the show exploded, Joe was diagnosed with aggressive prostate cancer, Gleason score 9. Prison medical care is a joke. He says he waited months for a biopsy. When they finally confirmed cancer, the BOP refused the recommended surgery because it was not life-threatening enough. His attorney, John M. Phillips, leaks photos of Joe, skeletal, bald from chemo he never received, shackled to a hospital bed. Joe wrote a public letter from prison. "I have maybe 2 years left. I just want to go home and die with my husband and my animals." The same government that spent millions prosecuting him now refuses to grant compassionate release because he is still a danger to the community. So Joe sits in a medical unit surrounded by dying inmates. No tigers, no sequins, no cameras, just pain and regret. Tiger King Season 2 came and went. The world moved on to new memes. Joe Exotic did not. He is still there, rotting, waiting for cancer or the system to finish him off, whichever comes first. Ghislaine Maxwell once flew on the Lolita Express with presidents and princes. Now she is inmate hashtag 02879-509 at FCI Tallahassee, serving 20 years for child sex trafficking. From the moment she was convicted in December 2021, the Bureau of Prisons treated her like the most dangerous woman in America. She spent her first 18 months in effective solitary at MDC Brooklyn. Lights on 24/7, cameras in her cell, body scans every time she moved, guards watching her shower. Her lawyer screamed that the treatment was worse than Hannibal Lecter. The BOP replied that it was necessary because of Epstein's suicide and the risk of Maxwell meeting the same fate or orchestrating it. In 2023, she was finally moved to Tallahassee Low Security Camp, but even there she lives under constant scrutiny. Inmates call her the witch. Food gets spat in. She has been assaulted twice. She works a landscaping crew 6 hours a day for 12 cents an hour, pulling weeds on the Florida sun. While wearing an ankle monitoring case, she suddenly sprouts wings and flies away. Every appeal has been denied. Her brother says she cries herself to sleep every night. Ghislaine Maxwell, the ultimate socialite, now eats slop off plastic trays and will die in prison long after everyone has forgotten Epstein's little black book. Marion Shug Knight once ruled death row records with fear and intimidation. Now the 6 feet 4 inches, 300-pound former kingpin is inmate hashtag before 7796 at R.J. Donovan Correctional Facility in San Diego, serving 28 years for voluntary manslaughter. In 2015, Shug ran over Terry Carter with his truck in a Tam's Burgers parking lot. The video is brutal. He claimed self-defense. The judge didn't care. Prison has not been kind to Shug. He is legally blind from diabetes complications and a past shooting that left bullet fragments near his brain. He has suffered multiple strokes behind bars and is wheelchair-bound most days. Because of his reputation, he is kept in protective custody, essentially solitary, 23 hours a day, year after year. He gets no visits. His son barely speaks to him. Death row is ancient history. Shug's famous intimidation doesn't work when you're half-blind and shackled. The man who once dangled vanilla ice off a balcony now begs guards for extra pain medication that rarely comes. You may not know her name, but you remember the crime. In 2013, Texas actress Shannon Richardson, small parts in The Walking Dead and Vampire Diaries, mailed rice and lace letters to President Obama and Mayor Bloomberg. She tried to frame her estranged husband. The FBI caught her in 48 hours. Now serving 18 years at FMC Carswell, Shannon lives under the shadow of being the ricin lady. Inmates with terrorism-related charges are automatic targets. She has been stabbed twice and keeps to herself in protective custody. With no famous friends and no money, she works in Uniseer, sewing military uniforms for pennies. Her son was born in prison and immediately taken away. She hasn't touched him since. A bit-part actress who wanted bigger roles now has the role of a lifetime. Federal inmate until 2031. Forgotten by Hollywood forever. Amy Locane was the sweet girl from Melrose Place. In 2010, Drunk behind the wheel, she slammed into another car, killing 60-year-old Helene Seaman and severely injuring her husband. After years of legal ping-pong and public outrage over a too lenient initial sentence, Amy was finally resentenced in 2020 to 8 years with a mandatory 85%. Now at Edna Mahan Correctional Facility in New Jersey, the former actress works in the kitchen, lives in a dorm with 60 other women, and cries every night because she misses her 2 young daughters. She has been sober for years, teaches yoga classes to inmates, and writes heartfelt apology letters to the Seaman family that are never answered. Every parole hearing ends the same way. Denied, because the victim's family shows up and begs the board to keep her locked up. Amy Locane's prison life is quiet, gray, and filled with guilt that never goes away. Austin Jones was a golden boy of YouTube's early acoustic scene. 500,000 subscribers, Warped Tour stages, teenage girls screaming his name. Then, in 2017, screenshots surfaced. He had been privately messaging underage fans, commanding them to send explicit proof videos if they wanted to be his #OneFan. He told one 14-year-old she had to twerk on camera for exactly 60 seconds or he would lose faith in her. 6 victims came forward. The FBI found hundreds of videos on his hard drives. In 2019, he pleaded guilty. 10 years in federal prison. Today he is at FCI Milan in Michigan, registered sex offender #68364-054. Because of the nature of his crime, he is permanently housed in the Special Housing Unit, SHU, the Hole. Prison staff say child sex offenders are the lowest caste in the system. If Austin ever hits general population, he won't last a week. He eats every meal alone in his cell. The only time he leaves is for a 15-minute shower 3 times a week, handcuffed, with 2 guards watching. He is allowed 1 15-minute phone call per month. Most months he has no one to call. His once-beloved covers of Ed Sheeran songs are now used against him. Inmates bang on the doors, screaming the lyrics to Thinking Out Loud in mocking falsetto whenever they know he's listening. His YouTube channel has been terminated. Every old video ends with the same gray banner. This channel no longer exists. At 31 years old, with 8 years still to go, Austin Jones has become a ghost, erased from the internet that made him and buried alive in a concrete box. In March 2020, 21-year-old Ryan Grantham, the kid who played Jeffrey in Diary of a Wimpy Kid and Rodney in Riverdale, loaded his car with 3 guns, 100 rounds of ammunition, Molotov cocktails, and a map to Justin Trudeau's residence. His plan: assassinate the Canadian Prime Minister. He never made it out of British Columbia. The day before, he had shot his 64-year-old mother Barbara in the back of the head while she played piano. He filmed her body on his GoPro, said, "I just killed my mom," then went upstairs to sleep. 24 hours later, he walked into Vancouver Police Headquarters and confessed everything. He pleaded guilty to second-degree murder, life in prison, no parole for 14 years. Ryan is now at Pacific Institution, a maximum security prison in British Columbia. Because of his extreme mental health breakdowns, severe anxiety, depression, and suicidal ideation, he is kept on constant suicide watch in an observation cell with a smock and no sheets. His psychiatric reports describe a young man who hears voices telling him to hurt people. He has tried to hang himself twice. Both times a camera caught him in time. The Canadian prison system does not allow eventual transfer to lower security. But because he also planned a mass killing, he will likely spend the next decade in isolation. No visits, no contact, just the same 4 walls and the memory of his mother's piano music echoing in his head forever. Elizabeth Holmes was on the cover of Forbes, Fortune, and Time, the youngest self-made female billionaire in history. Today she wakes up at 5:30 a.m. for count at FPC Bryan, Texas, making 12 to 40 cents an hour folding prison laundry. Her uniform is in khaki jumpsuit 2 sizes too big. Her famous black turtleneck is gone. Her voice, once that creepy baritone she faked for years, is back to normal. She is inmate #24965-111. She shares a cubicle with 3 other women. There is no privacy, no silence, no almond milk lattes. Her days are strictly regimented. Works 7 a.m. to 3 p.m., dinner at 4:30, locked down at 9:30. She teaches yoga and etiquette classes to other inmates, the same women who used to watch her TED Talks and now call her the Blood Girl. Her 2 young children, one born just weeks before she reported to prison, only know her through 15-minute video visits on a grainy screen. Her son reportedly cried the first time he saw her in prison greens and asked, "Why is mommy wearing pajamas dirty?" Every dollar she earns goes straight to the $452 million restitution she owes. She will still be paying it off when she is released in 2032, broke, disgraced, and forever synonymous with the biggest fraud in Silicon Valley history. Jen Shah went from Bravo's Real Housewives of Salt Lake City, private jets, designer bags, Charmaine's catchphrases, to federal inmate in 78 days flat. She pleaded guilty to running a decade-long telemarketing scam that stole millions from elderly victims. Now at FPC Bryan, same camp as Elizabeth Holmes, ironically, she cries every single day. Prison sources say Jen spends hours on the phone begging her husband and sons to visit. Most weekends, a visitor list is empty. She works in the kitchen, up at 4 a.m. to serve breakfast. Inmates mock her old catchphrases. When she drops a tray, they yell, "Who wants to get shocked?" She gained 40 pounds on prison food, lost most of her hair from stress, and had an emotional breakdown on camera when Bravo aired her sentencing special. Release date, December 2028. Until then, the woman who once screamed, "I'm rich," on national television counts down the days on a prison calendar, one commissary honey bun at a time. Josh Duggar was America's poster boy for wholesome Christian values, eldest son of 19 kids and counting. Then the feds found over 600 images of child sexual abuse material on his computer, including toddlers. December 2021, guilty on both counts. 151 months at FCIC Goville, Texas. Because of his crime, Josh is permanently in the SHU. 23 hours a day lockdown, meals through the door, no yard time with general population. He would be killed within minutes. His wife Anna is raising their 7 children alone and still claims he is innocent. She is allowed 1 non-contact visit per month through glass. Josh has reportedly tried to find God harder in prison. He reads the Bible 10 hours a day and leads a small prayer group of other protected inmates. Guards say he cries uncontrollably every time the lights go out. 20 names. 20 lives that once glittered under spotlights, now flickering under harsh fluorescent tubes. Some are monsters. Some are martyrs. All of them are human beings who learn the same brutal lesson. When the cell door finally slams, fame is worth less than the thin mattress you sleep on. The law doesn't care how many Grammys you won, how many Oscars parties you attended, or how many zeros were in your bank account. When it catches you for good. So next time you see a celebrity throwing a tantrum, remember these faces. Remember Jody counting cracks in the wall. Remember Alesh with bleeding fingers in a Belarusian labor camp. Remember Harvey barely breathing. Remember little Ryan Grantham hearing piano notes that aren't there. Remember Joe Exotic waiting for cancer to win. That's where every story like this really ends. Not with a bang, not with a red carpet, but with a quiet click of a steel door that will never open again from the inside. Which one of these stories hit you the hardest? Who do you believe still has a soul worth saving? Let me know in the comments. No judgment, just conversation. And if this almost 3-hour deep dive made you rethink everything you believe about fame, justice, and second chances, do me a favor. Smash that like button, share this video, and turn on notifications. We go this dark every single week. Thank you for staying until the very end. Stay safe, stay free, and I'll see you in the next one.